हम सबका परम सौभाग्य है कि हमें अपनी दुआओं भरी आशीर्वाद देने के लिए हमें आदरणीय स्वामी जी का सानिध्य प्राप्त हो रहा है। 2 दिन से आप सब आईटी में स्पिरिचुअलिटी के महत्व को देखते हुए स्टडी कर रहे हैं, ऐसा कहूँ, और बहुत सुंदर लग रहा था जब कल मैं एड्रेस कर रही थी। आप सब की विशेषता है, आप सब बहुत ही अच्छी क्वालिटी के श्रोता हैं, गुड लिसनर्स। जितने फास्ट और स्ट्रेस भरे वातावरण में आप कार्य करते हैं, उसकी आपको शाबाश है। लेकिन हम चाहते हैं कि आपके इस स्ट्रेस को खत्म कर दिया जाए। स्ट्रेस हो ही नहीं, इसीलिए आपके लिए रिट्रीट रखी है, एक्सपीरियंस, एनर्जाइज एंड एम्पावर। और मुझे विश्वास है कि 2 दिन से आप अपनी बुद्धि रूपी झोली में रत्न भर रहे होंगे। बहुत ही अनुभवी, प्रबुद्ध, अपने क्षेत्र के मास्टर और उतने ही निर्माणचित परिवार तरीके से हिल मिल जाने वाले हमारे आदरणीय स्वामी जी हम सबके मध्य हैं। मैं उनसे निवेदन करूंगी कि आप अपने अनुभव से, अपनी दिल की दुआओं से सबको आशीर्वाद देंगे ताकि इनका जीवन सहज, सुखद और सरल हो जाए। स्वामी जी।
नमस्कार। परम आदरणीय आशा दीदी जी, मंच संचालन करने वाली दीदी और आप सब श्रोता, मैं आप सभी लोगों का अभिनंदन करता हूं कि हमें ऐसे एक डायमेंशन की, ऐसे एक पहलू की आवश्यकता नजर आती है कि विच इज बियॉन्ड अर्निंग मनी एंड सीकिंग प्लेजर। ये 2 ही बिंदु हैं कि जिसके इर्द गिर्द मनुष्य का जीवन चक्र की तरह चलते रहता है। Either the person is seeking pleasure or seeking money। और धन, पैसा, इसके साथ पावर पोजीशन ये भी जोड़ लीजिए। परंतु आप सब लोग यहां पे आए हैं, इसमें ऐसी कोई तमन्ना नहीं है, आकांक्षा नहीं है कि ये सुनने से हमारे धन की वृद्धि होगी, हमारी पद प्रतिष्ठा बढ़ेगी। ऐसा न होते हुए भी आप सब सावधान होकर के यहाँ पे चल रहे जितने भी कार्यक्रम हैं, प्रबोधन हैं, इन सब को अपने चित्त में समाहित कर रहे हैं। वह पहलू कि जिसके बिना मनुष्य का जीवन अधूरा ही रहेगा। चाहे मनुष्य जितना भी धन का संचय कर ले, पद प्रतिष्ठा हासिल कर लें और विषयों के भोग के गर्त में गिरे भी, तभी भी जीवन की प्यास बुझती नहीं है। जब तक के उस परमेश्वर का दर्शन नहीं होता, तब तक के ये संभव ही नहीं है। उपनिषदों ने तो प्रतिज्ञा की है। उपनिषद कहती हैं, भिद्यते हृदय ग्रंथि ही छिद्यते सर्व संशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि तस्मिन् दृष्टे परावरे। उस परावर परमेश्वर का दर्शन करके ही हृदय की सारी ग्रंथियां टूट जाती हैं, सारे संशय निर्मूलित हो जाते हैं और कर्मों में वह क्षमता नहीं रहती कि कर्म आपको दुखी कर दे। क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि तस्मिन् दृष्टे परावरे। तो जाने अनजाने में आप उस पहलू की ओर खींचे आ रहे हो, उस मार्ग की ओर खींचे आ रहे हो कि जो मार्ग उस वस्तु का दर्शन करा सकता है जहां जीवन की पूर्णता अनुभव में आती है, सारी तृष्णाएं मिट सकती है, सारी स्पर्धा मिट सकती है। जैसे पूज्य आशा दीदी जी ने कहा कि आपका जीवन तो तनाव भरा है, स्ट्रेसफुल है, लेकिन आप ऐसी स्थिति का विचार कर रहे हैं कि जहां स्ट्रेस बिल्कुल ही न हो, तनाव बिल्कुल ही न हो, मुक्त हो। और वो बिना स्पिरिचुअलिटी के, बिना अध्यात्म शास्त्र के संभव ही नहीं है। इसलिए पुनः आप सभी लोगों का हार्दिक अभिनंदन, और आप सब लोगों को जिनका नेतृत्व प्राप्त है, ऐसी आशा दीदी, ब्रिजमोहन भाई साहब जी, अनुभवी संत हैं, आर्द्र हृदय हैं, इन सब लोगों को भी पुनः मैं अभिनंदन देता हूं और भगवान के, संतों के, यहाँ के इस विशेष संस्था के आशीर्वाद आप सब लोगों को बल प्रदान करें, यही मेरी शुभकामना। धन्यवाद।
तो आज हमारा परम सौभाग्य है जो स्वामी जी का भी सानिध्य हम सभी को प्राप्त हुआ। सो एक बार पुनः स्वामी जी आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, और आपने समय निकाला इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में अपना 10 मिनट का, उसके लिए भी धन्यवाद।
देखिए, महान आत्माओं की गुण महान होते हैं। स्वामी जी कोई इस लक्ष्य से नहीं आए थे कि उनको कहीं कुछ एड्रेस करना है, वे विजिट पर आए थे। हमने नम्र निवेदन किया और आपने सहर्ष स्वीकार किया और आप सबको लाभ दिया। इसके लिए हम हृदय से बहुत बहुत प्यार से, दुआओं से स्वामी जी को धन्यवाद देते हैं कि आपने हम सबको दिशा निर्देश दिए। थैंक यू स्वामी। ये बड़ों की महानता होती है, ना नहीं बोलते हैं, कभी भी बड़े ना नहीं बोलते हैं, बड़े सदा हाँ जी करते हैं।
So next I would like to request Brother Ken O'Donnell, please come on the stage. So it is our immense pleasure again to have Ken Bhai with us. We welcome you, Ken Bhai. please. I would like to introduce you all with Ken Bhai. He is born in Australia and based in Brazil. He has worked as a consultant in organizational development, advanced quality management, and strategic execution in over 30 countries. Ken Bhai is an author of 15 books on personal and organizational development, some published in 9 languages. His background as an industrial chemist in research, developing, and controlling quality for companies such as Max Factor and General Foods allowed him ample experience in consulting about total quality and re-engineering management. For 7 years, he worked in communication training with companies such as Unilever and Citibank. So, he is fluent in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. As an author, he has written books about personal and organizational development, with sales reaching more than 5 lakh copies, including The Soul in Business, Roots of Change, Self-Empowerment, Lessons for Life, Peace Starts With You, and Endo Quality. In the Eye of Storm, co-authored with Brian Bacon, addressed survival for organizational and individuals in times of chaos. His most recent book is on human values at work, from the wall to practice. And as in Brahma Kumari's organization, he is the director of World Spiritual University in South America, or international organization, organized NGO with general consultative status with Economic and Social Council of the UN. So we welcome Brother Ken, and हम केन भाई से रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे अभी हमारा जो टॉपिक है हमारे को थोड़ा सा बताएं towards the positive change. Brother Ken, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Lovely to be with you. I hope you can understand my English. It's a little bit, I'm from Australia, so I don't speak English, I speak Australian. But it should be okay. Now, I was just sitting here thinking, what would you do if something sudden happened for which you were not prepared? And I remember that it's something that we train ourselves internally. And if you're thinking about moving towards some positive change, you have to, first of all, have an idea of what that looks like. And then you move towards what you think. And I worked many years in strategic execution rather than just strategic planning. It's very easy to plan, not so easy to put it into practice. Do you find that? Who has seen a plan that didn't work? You know? How many unproductive meetings have you been part of? Lots? There's a lot of talking and a lot of desires. I think Swamiji was talking about that. Not just desires at a personal level. We want things for the company, we want things for our profession, we want things for our family. And in a way, that wanting makes us a little bit blind to what is actually happening. And I remember I'd been invited, and this was a common experience in a way. I was invited to conduct a strategic conversation with the chief financial officers of a big Brazilian company, which is the second biggest mining company in the world. It's called Vale. It's the biggest miner of iron deposits, for example. and nickel also very huge. And the idea was to get those people to come to an agreement so that they can move towards a positive participation in the world mining industry. That was the idea anyway. And they were swimming in money at the time, this company. They had so much money. And at the table during the lunch hour, they were talking about buying Alcoa, which is the biggest producer of aluminium in the world. And they were just saying, we have so much. They had $10 billion in cash in hand. And so they were joking about buying the biggest aluminium company in the world. And we want this and we want that. We will do this, we will do that. And that was in September of 2008, I think. 2 weeks later, there was a huge financial collapse. So all of that desire that we're going to do this and we're going to do that, we'll be able to really make a big contribution to this planet and so on, it just fell apart because the economy crashed. And suddenly, from having $10 billion in hand, they had nothing. Not only did all of the people that I was working with got fired, but the team that was working with Avali also, we were put out. So you see, we make our plans, we have desires, we want to go forward, but what is it that makes us able to put our desires into action? And the first thing, and I've seen it so many times subsequently, what was missing in their desire to progress was some sort of benefit for humanity, some bigger cause than just making money, like the Swami was saying. I don't understand Hindi much, but I could understand more or less what he was saying. See, it's not enough. The problem with desires is that you have a lot of competition because every single human being wants something or the other. Now, I was able to, and this is something you can think about, I was working with, this was when that big tsunami hit Asia at the end of 2004, I was in India. And I was at our headquarters in Mount Abu, Brahmakumari's headquarters, I was with the president of Unilever for the Asia Pacific region. He was there. There was a conference there and he was there visiting. And he thought to help immediately, and you can imagine this in your places, he decided to take the presidents of Unilever companies, it's a big group of companies, from 11 countries. He decided to take those presidents to Sri Lanka to help the victims of the tsunami. And I thought, this is a strange thing. How could such a high-level person, Unilever is the second biggest food company in the world and also the second biggest toiletries and hygiene and cleaning products in the world after Procter & Gamble. How could such a high-level person decide suddenly to take all of the presidents of the company? So you just think of the boss of your boss, maybe, unless you're a president of a company yourself, to Sri Lanka to help the victims. Because he realizes one thing, that if you somehow don't give, you don't receive. If you don't help, you won't get help. So this is a first secret in trying to move towards some sort of positive change. Because if we don't do anything, we are moving towards some change, right? Change is happening every single day. But maybe not the changes that we want as a society. You know, you just look at how India is growing, and there's going to be a limit somewhere. There's hardly any space on the roads. The last time I came here, I took 2 hours from Gurgaon, the downtown, to here. So 2 hours because of the traffic, you know. So we go ahead, everyone doing what they think they should do, and we're having our desires, and everyone is looking for something for themselves. And what happens is the world gets more and more complicated, complex. So maybe not the change that we want. The world, if you look at all of the indicators, climate change, the desertification of the world, you know, the deserts are getting bigger, the urban growth is getting bigger, the amount of pollutants in the atmosphere is getting bigger, and so on. Everything's going up and up and up, exponentially. Now, if you look at all of those different indicators going up like that, you know, if you turn that graph upside down, they're not going like that, they're going like this, yeah? So all of the indicators, if you look at it upside down, they're going off the page. So we can't say that the future of the world is looking very positive at the moment. But within that, it's possible to do something. Now, this is what I learned with this guy, and we worked together. The first part of the interaction with the victims of the tsunami in Sri Lanka, that 50 kilometers of the coastline, 30,000 people died. And 40% of those people were children. So the whole community completely devastated. They'd lost everything. And you've got these high-level executives, presidents of companies who are used to comfort and servants and drivers and this and that. They are there and they're interacting with these people who had lost everything. And you could see that they were not understanding very well. They are not famous for being loving, right? High-level executives of a multinational company, they are not famous for being very loving, right, towards society. So they were really, you know, out of their depth. They were out of their context totally. So if you want to lead towards positive change, that's the first thing you have to understand. What is the context of everything that we are working with here? And so the first part was interacting with it, and I was invited to go with him. So I was with these people. And then the second part of that adventure, he took everyone to the jungle. And it was rainy season in Sri Lanka. So water everywhere and, you know, rain, and it was like very difficult. And he put everyone in a camp in the middle of the jungle, no electricity, no beds. You know, high-level presidents of big companies, no bed. They had to sleep on the ground in tents. And there was no cell phone coverage, no mobile coverage. So they were obliged to stay away from their personal addiction machines, right? That we call cell phones. And they were complaining. But boss, you didn't tell us that we would be away from our cell coverage, so our family doesn't know where we are. And you know what he said to them? Do you think that the tsunami advised those people that they would be without anything? No, it happened, right? And of course they shut up because they saw so much suffering. And I was with a woman who, at the time of the big wave, she was walking along a street and she had a baby in her arms and her young sister, 8 years old, at her side. And they were walking along. The wave came and she didn't see either child again. They were washed away. So she was absolutely devastated. And I was with this guy who was the president of Unilever in Australia, talking to this woman. And he became so touched. He didn't know what to do. So this second part was called Who Am I? This second part of this journey was called Who Am I? So after that interaction with the tragedy and death, people, they were absolutely shocked. They had to consider, they had to think about themselves. Okay, in this world, who am I? In this world, in this crazy world, in this changing world, who am I? And so he had invited me to be with them, to teach them to meditate. And so, of course, they were already, very raw in a way. Their emotions were very much troubled. And so they found some help by learning to meditate. Now, you may think, no, what's this got to do with business? What's this got to do with corporate behavior? Everything. What he was doing was simulating a violent, unexpected situation which can happen anytime. We are living in a world of suddenly. Suddenly, anything can happen anywhere, anytime, to anyone. Suddenly, we don't know it. Putin can throw a bomb somewhere and that's it. That starts the nuclear war. It's possible. Or even the other side. Suddenly this situation in Palestine and Gaza and Israel. Who knows what that can lead to? If Iran gets involved and if the United States get involved. And so suddenly the problems of climate change you have here, incredible floods, incredible hurricanes, I live in a part of the world, I live in Brazil, which has mainly problem of floods. But on the other side of the continent, it's earthquakes. Suddenly, anything can happen. And I tell you, I was doing a talk in Santiago, Chile, South America, and the name of the talk was Remaining Calm in the Chaos. That was the name of the talk. In the middle of the talk, there was an earthquake. Not a tremor, an earthquake. 7.2 or something, 7.3. Da, da, da. Can you imagine we're sitting here and everything starts to swing suddenly? So what do you do? And this is what I'm telling you. If you learn to go inside and to become still, to become quiet, you can manage an earthquake. So what did I do? In the people, there were about, I guess, 100 people in this big room. Half of them jumped up and ran out in panic, as people do when there's an earthquake, running nowhere to hide. And the other half stayed sitting. So because I meditate, I have zero tendency to go into panic. Something strange is happening, I can go inside and I can be, okay, let me become stable, let me come still, and then I can decide what to do. And, it's quite fast, but there's a training not to go into panic. And I just looked at the people that were sitting. Why didn't you get up and run? And they said, because we're sitting in a wooden building. Oh, I said, okay, wooden building. The building was made of wood. And they said, well, a wooden building doesn't fall down in an earthquake. It's flexible. If it was made of brick, it would fall down. So, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's why you are sitting there calmly. Yes, that's why we're sitting here calmly. So, knowledge, this is an IT conference, right? Knowledge helps. Knowledge helps, but knowledge can be information, yeah? Knowledge can be understanding, and knowledge can also be wisdom. If it's just information, it doesn't help. I have to understand what it means. I have to understand its implication. I have to understand the context that is creating. And I also understand how I fit into this situation. Then I can become wise. So maybe even before information, it's just data, right? Data, information, knowledge, understanding, wisdom. Where are you with all of the things that are valuable in the way that you approach life, in the way that you work? Where are you? Are you wise, or are you just someone who has the knowledge of something? And this is what we did with these people in Sri Lanka. Who am I? And we went into the depths of meditation practice with these higher level company presidents from all over Asia. And then 2 years later, I was with 80 of those 200 people in Vietnam. And the president of Unilever was now, he was looking after Southeast Asia specifically. And I went there ostensibly for a strategic planning meeting with those people. But I just noticed those ones that had been in Sri Lanka and had gone through that process, they were so much more open and so much wiser and so much more capable of dealing with situations that, and so the planning meeting was very quick. People knew what they wanted, and they, this is who we are. And let me tell you, they had transformed these 80 people. And then later on, this was a beginning of a series of experiences which taught me that it is possible to move towards a positive change with understanding. And there was one thing that we used a lot, It's something from Greek philosophy. There was a mathematician, philosopher called Pythagoras. He was famous for the triangle, how to work out the angles in a triangle. But he also was fascinated by geometrical shapes. And in that triangle idea, there's one thing that he wanted to associate with philosophy. On the 3 points of the triangle, there's me, individual, there is life, and whatever life, and let's say the marketplace or the society or life in general, what that has. This is me, the individual, this is life. My relationships, my interactions, the resources available, and so on. Here I am, here's life. Most people think like this. Life is like a supermarket, and I have got my cart, and I'll go through life putting things into my how do you call it, supermarket. I don't know if you have it here in India. Huh?
It is called
Cart, okay. So you've seen it, right? So life is a big supermarket, and let me go through and I'll put this in and I'll put that in and I'll put this in and I'll have some more of this one and more of this one, and I push it, but I don't expect to pay, right? As I go through, there's no cash register even, because everyone is in the same supermarket filling it up, and of course there's a limited amount to go around to everyone. Some people get a lot, some people get nothing, but we don't expect to pay. We don't expect to pay for our lives. That's the general idea. You know, most people act as if there was absolutely no law of karma. Most people just do things without considering the consequences. Is that right? Is that right? So let me fill in my cart, I'll go through and not pay. Problem is we do have to pay. So life won't give us what we want. And if we're talking about positive change, we're talking about not only what I want, but what everyone would like. If I ask people what sort of a family life would they love to have, what sort of a family life would you like? Tell them. Yeah, peace and love, harmony. Who wants harmony in their family life? Yeah? Who wants a government that is working for the good of the people? Yeah? Who wants an economic system that is giving the good results according to the efforts that people make? Who wants an environment which is green and clean? Yeah? Who wants a justice system which works accurately? Everyone. Who wants corruption? No one. Who wants lies and cheating and thievery? No one. Who wants fighting and conflict and confusion? Hand up. Who wants sorrow? No one. I don't know anyone who is making efforts to be sad. So, if you want something and it's going to create positive change, it has to be for the good or for the benefit of a larger number. So Pythagoras puts a third point in the triangle. And he says, okay, there is a third influence. Me, life, and what's this third thing? It's the common good. It's the good of all. It's the divine dimension of things. Now, the divine, the one that we call God or the highest, we believe that in a way is giving to the universe, right? So things exist because of some divine reason. So it's not just me and life. There's a third dimension. If I work towards the common good, if I work towards benefit, if I work towards, let's say, giving, then I will receive. If I just try to take, I may receive, but also may not receive. So I was talking to this guy, and later on he became the president of a company called AkzoNobel, which is the biggest chemical company in the world. Nobel was Alfred Nobel, right? And it's the biggest manufacturer of paints in the world. Paints, house paint. So I started to work with their company in Brazil, and it was actually, who was the president of Latin America, this other guy. And he believed that. And we had a meeting where I could convince him that it was possible, when doing something for the common good, you're actually helping yourself. And so what did we do? I told him, and this took a few meetings, but we convinced the people there not to spend money on advertising. You know, advertising their house paints and so on, car paints and plane paints and all paints, right? But to use the paint, the definition, we can put it into our own lives, this example. We are not a paint company. We exist to add color to people's lives. Look at the difference. We make paints. So what? We exist to add color to people's lives. So if that's what our reason is, what does that mean? And so we, instead of using the money for advertising, we decided to use the money for painting. And we painted in Brazil 1,200 projects for the society. Some of them were historical sites, some of them were slums, some of them were very important central areas of cities. Let's paint. Let's add color. And what happened? Everyone said, who are these people? Who are these people painting here and there? And they started to know about the paint company. So the sales they were just giving, right? Just giving. And the sales went through the roof because people were interested. Much more return than just advertising. So it's just a simple example that you can use a spiritual principle in a very corporate sense. Why not? Give and you receive. It's a spiritual principle. That particular principle is in all traditions. If you give, you receive. But how to make that work in a practical way? So if you want to create a positive change, and that means a positive return for you, basically, and a positive return for society, get people to start giving more. If you want to have a negative future, keep on taking and taking and taking and taking. That's the law. That has always been the law. That's how the universe works. You know, how come we don't remember that? Get all of these little individuals doing their little work and, you know, in their little places and trying to create their little returns. And no one thinks about the big picture. So naturally they will not be ready to face big picture changes. The changes that are coming up are big ones. Big ones. So what big am I doing? What am I doing to help? I remember my brother, when I was just a teenager, I was very much involved in social sort of activism. At that time, Australia was still fighting in the Vietnam War, in a completely unjust war, and the young people were against the war. And my brother said to me, okay, I can understand what you're doing, but ask yourself, are you helping or not helping? Are you part of the positive change, or are you still part of the negative thing? It made me think, and it's true. I was getting angry because of a war. It means I was getting in a war because of a war. So am I adding to the solution, or am I adding to the problem? So think about that. If you start in some way in your wherever you are, even with your colleagues around you and the people around you, what you do, the type of work you do, if you start to think that what I do is part of a solution to things, the way I talk, the way I interact, the type of work I do, all of those things are actually helping, then I will be helped. So something positive will happen. But if I'm still part of the problem in some way, then I will be, you know, I like to think of the image of a hurricane. I was talking about hurricanes before. You know, a hurricane is a cyclone, I think you call it in this part of the world. And it happens, it's a circular sort of winds, and they go around closer to the eye of the storm. You've seen the center of a hurricane, it's about 25 kilometers wide. In that, the winds are not very strong at all, but the first ring of winds around that circle is 200 kilometers per hour, 150 per hour, that sort of thing. So if there's a hurricane, if you've ever seen a hurricane or a cyclone as a satellite photo, you can see it must be 300, 400 kilometers wide, the whole thing. If 25 kilometers is the center of it, so it's big, immense. So change is like that. There are the winds of change. Some of them are very fast, like a hurricane. And you can be pushed and pulled, right? There are two places to be in a hurricane. You can be in the winds that are circling around and therefore easily become a victim, or you can be someone who is in the center of everything, understanding what's going on and being able to interact. And this is the place to be. Meditation helps me in all situations to move to the center of the hurricane, the so-called eye of the storm. I'm in the middle. It's a little bit choppy. It's a little bit sort of tiny bits of wind, gusts of wind. but nothing like being in the hurricane. So what do? Doesn't matter what's going on. First thing I have to do is to understand the context. What are the influences? What are the possibilities? What is all this that is going on? Second, I prepare myself internally. So, who am I? This is the big question. Who am I? And that's the first question. If I don't know who I am, I will not know what I am doing. Think about it. So I am this spiritual being giving life to this human body. I have a long story in the past and also in the future. I am an energy, a conscious energy, a soul, a spiritual being. And my nature, my true nature, when I'm in a state of rest, is peace. I am that. That is who I am. Nothing and no one can change what I am, essentially, unless I allow that to happen. So if I stay in that, I understand the context, and I stay in that state, I can prepare myself whatever is necessary. And I've done this in many situations, so many, Once I was in a plane that came down to land. This was in Canberra. It was a 32-seater plane, regional plane. Canberra is the capital of Australia. So I came into land, and there was a lot of wind. So as the pilot was landing, the wind caught the plane and started to tilt it over onto one side. So for about 500 meters, the plane was going along on one wheel. And then somehow the pilot corrected it and took off again. And in that time, right, I was sitting in the exit row, and the person in front of me was the air hostess, and she was absolutely, full of, she was screaming actually. And in the plane, everyone was screaming. You can imagine. They were screaming because they thought the plane was going to crash. And in fact, it almost did. And I was sitting there. I noticed there was a problem. Very quickly, I went to that default state of inner peace. Let me consider this. Of course, the thinking process is very fast. Of course, all of this was just a matter of seconds. And I just was amazed that the pilot could correct everything. I did not go into a state of panic. Nothing. And I said to the air hostess, calm down, please. You've got a great pilot. Look at what he just did. Anyway, the plane started to go up again and started to circle around the airport. And they were dropping fuel, right? So that if there was a problem, then they couldn't, couldn't blow up the plane. And everyone was either praying or crying, screaming. And I was trying to keep the air hostess. She was supposed to help the passengers, right? Not we helping her. Anyway, finally it came into land. Everyone was shaking, except me. It's because every day, I go to that state many times. I go inside, I take the pulse of the situation around me. What is going on? What are the factors here? What do I have to keep in mind? And let me go inside and become calm and stable, a peaceful being. Then I decide what to do. Do that many times a day, then it becomes a habit. So that when something really strange happens, like a plane crash or something, then or an earthquake, then you can keep your head and you can just be okay. So I want to give you an exercise now, and we can maybe finish with that. When we talk about moving towards positive change, it's like very idealistic, right? But I would say positive change is when something happens which is good for the majority. That's a positive change. So if I'm helping, there's a story about a hummingbird. You know a hummingbird, those little tiny birds that beat their wings hundreds of times a minute. And they have a long beak and they feed themselves. You have hummingbirds in India? You have? Okay. So there was a forest fire. And the hummingbird was on the other side of the river to where the fire was. So all of these animals are trying to cross the river, get away from the fire, and this hummingbird is jumping into the water, filling up its beak, and then throwing a beak full of water onto the flames. And then coming back, filling the beak again and dropping it onto the flames. And all of the animals are laughing. You think that that's going to help? You know, how much water can you fit into the beak of a hummingbird? You think that's helping? And the hummingbird said, at least I'm doing my part. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? We are all little hummingbirds, right? We're in our little places, our little offices, our little corners, and we're doing a little something. But I can be doing a little something positive, right? Why not? Why not when someone comes to me, I can have a bad reaction or a good one? Why not? Do I have to speak coarsely to people? Can I speak kindly to people? The same thing, I can say the same thing in a positive way or a negative way. I can, give something to someone come there, take this. I can do it like that. I say, would you like this? It's the same action, but a positive one. So if I want to create positive change, I have to do that and not this. Then you'll find that your life changes a little bit, and your life change helps people around you change. So you start spreading out the goodness. That's more or less, you can't save the world, but you can make someone happy who's next to you. Yeah? Is that right? You can work with the same people every day and just not be pleasant at all, or you can be very pleasant, and that creates a different atmosphere. Just treat others with respect, and you are creating a positive world, right? So let's have some, just a few minutes. I'll give a few thoughts for us for meditation, and then we can move on. So I want you to sit nicely, as if you're a king on a throne, not too rigid, not too sloppy, just nicely. Don't need to close your eyes. Just let your eyes rest on some point in front of you, whatever. The back of the chair in front of you, something on the wall. Just rest your eyes. As you turn within, you turn your thoughts within. And you become aware of what's going on around you. Remember I talked about the context? Just become aware of this moment. You can see, obviously, because your eyes are open, you can see colours and forms, shapes. You can hear sounds. You can feel the temperature. All of these things are happening around you. But you're in the centre of it all. You're in the centre of 360 degrees of things. And not just here in this auditorium, but think of, what's happening around you in this country, in Gurgaon, in Delhi, in India. So many millions of things at this moment, so much rushing and so many activities. But you're in the centre of everything, very still. Even if you were sitting in the traffic, you could still be still internally. A lot of things are happening around, a lot of changes happening around you. Most of them are not very positive. But at this moment, I am still, I am quiet, I'm in the center, I'm stable. Not only physically, I'm also in the center of my life, in a way. So how many people, family members and colleagues and neighbors, people that I meet infrequently are part of my life? It's like a network of people and objects, things that belong in my life, possessions and special things. So I'm in the center of a network of people and things. And I'm at the center, I'm still. I am stable. Just let the world continue and just enjoy. In my state of rest, I am peaceful. This is my true nature, actually. Because I'm not jumping around, I allow myself to experience my own peace. Because I'm not desiring anything at the moment, I feel content. Because I'm not divided so many different directions, I feel myself to be powerful, content, peaceful, loving. This is my true nature. And as a child of the one that we call God, Allah, or Jehovah, or Bhagwan, Prabhu, that one, as a child of that one, I naturally would have his qualities in my essence. So I feel that I have this divine connection. And as I feed that connection, I start to emanate some positive vibrations. And as I emanate positive vibrations, I'm already generating some positive change around me, even at a distance. Each one of us is like this little hummingbird, just adding a positive vibration to the atmosphere around us. Just as the hummingbird was dropping big falls of water onto the flames, I'm just emanating peace, to create an atmosphere of positivity around me. Okay, just enjoy that state for some moments more. Let's open our eyes a bit more, keep this vibration still. At least we have succeeded in creating a positive atmosphere in this hall. Okay? So, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ken Bhai, for your valuable insights, and thank you for guiding us towards the positive change. Thanks once again. So, अभी हम सभी एक वर्कशॉप करेंगे, क्योंकि 11:30 तक हमारे पास 11:35 तक हमारे पास शिवानी दीदी और बाकी सब पहुँचेंगे. सो एक 15 मिनट्स की कुछ एक्टिविटी करेंगे. यस, पहले वाली कंप्लीट कर लें. पहले वाली कंप्लीट कर लें. तो सभी प्लीज़ फिर से खड़े हो जाएं. सभी खड़े हो जाएं. आपको एक्टिविटी का रूल पता है ना? जब तक मैं कहूँगी एक्टिविटी ख़त्म नहीं हुई है तब तक आपको क्या करना है? कंटिन्यू करना है. फाइन, ठीक है. कब हाथ ऊपर, कब हाथ नीचे, थोड़ा फास्ट करेंगे. कब बैठ जाएं, कब खड़े हो जाएं, कब बैठ जाएं, खड़े हो जाएं. हाँ, जो खड़े हो गए हैं वो बैठ जाएं, बाकी के कब खड़े हो जाएं. कब हाथ ऊपर, कब हाथ नीचे, कब हाथ पीछे, कब हाथ आगे, ऊपर. ऊपर वाले बैठ जाएं. ऑनेस्टी से बैठते जाएंगे ना तो हम फास्ट इस एक्टिविटी को पूरा करके नेक्स्ट पे चलेंगे. कब बैठ जाएं, कब खड़े हो जाएं, कब हैंडशेक, कब हेलो, कब बैठ जाएं, कब खड़े हो जाएं, कब हाथ ऊपर, कब हाथ नीचे, ऊपर नीचे. वेरी गुड. दोनों ही बैठ जाएं, ऊपर नीचे वाले. कब हाथ ऊपर, कब हाथ नीचे, पीछे, आगे. जिन्होंने पीछे और आगे किए वो बैठ जाएं. अब जो अपने हाथों को मूव करेंगे उनको भी आउट करेंगे, ठीक है, ताकि हम नेक्स्ट एक्टिविटी की ओर बढ़ेंगे. कब हाथ ऊपर, कब हाथ नीचे, कब बैठ जाएं, कब खड़े हो जाएं, कब हाथ ऊपर, कब हाथ नीचे, कब हाथ पीछे, कब हाथ आगे, ऊपर. हाँ, बैठ जाएं. ठीक है, वेरी गुड. सभी आगे आ जाएं, आगे आ जाएं. थोड़े से ही रह गए, आगे आ जाएं ताकि पता चले, नहीं तो बैठे हुए वाले भी खड़े हो जाते हैं. आगे आ जाइए सभी आगे आ जाएं. हाँ, यही स्टेज के आगे आइए, सभी आगे आ जाइए. नहीं, यहाँ आगे आ जाइए, इधर यहाँ आगे आएंगे. हाँ, आ गए. आगे आ जाएं. आ जाइए, सभी आ जाइए. अच्छा, हाँ, आगे आइए. अब जो बैठ गए हैं, आउट हो गए हैं, वो ये बताएं कि आउट है या अभी चल सकते हैं एक्टिविटी में. चल सकते हैं. पर मैंने क्या कहा था, जब तक मैं ये ना कहूँ कि एक्टिविटी ख़त्म हो गई है तब तक एक्टिविटी चलती जाएगी, और कब शब्द के साथ लगा हुआ होगा तभी आपको वो काम करना है. सारे आउट हो गए. थैंक यू सो मच. अच्छा, 2 4 5 खड़े रहे. थैंक यू सो मच. सो इस एक्टिविटी के विनर कौन है? इस एक्टिविटी के विनर कौन है? सारे ही हैं, है ना? सारे कब बैठ जाए अब. सो इस एक्टिविटी को हम अभी यहीं पर एंड करते हैं. थैंक यू सो मच. आपने इंजॉय किया? इस एक्टिविटी में क्या सीखा? लर्निंग क्या रही? कंसंट्रेशन और प्रेजेंस ऑफ माइंड. यस, ऑनेस्टी. क्या सीखा जी? एक्टिव लिसनिंग, यस, और